Hello and welcome to the podcast. I am joined by Falcon Paladin, and Gravity is eager not to offend him.
Did you say gravity?
Gravity is eager not to offend you. Yes, it's a
Yes. Why is gravity not eager to offend me?
it's a reference to the book we read, Falcon. That's all.
Ah, right.
Yep. Maybe.
Because of like the spinning corridor and right? So are you referring to the part where like Abaddon is like sticking to the floor? No?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. It is a thing that Horus. He's like doing his stuff, and he's like a big bad evil god, and he's like, I control all the dimensions, and like there's Gravity in the corner, eager not to offend me.
Oh, right. Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yep.
Horus says a lot of things in this book.
Yeah. Yeah. He
There are a
does.
lot of Horus words.
There's a lot. There's a lot of Horus.
Which I think we talked about in the previous End of the Death books, where it's like Horus has been doing effectively nothing during the Siege of Terra, as far as we know.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the End of the Death, it's like, oh, you can like tell what Horus is thinking to himself, and we got an internal monologue with Horus, and
I
it was nice. It was nice,
I
right?
think I think
it
after
was a nice thing.
I think after 50 books of people going, well, what was Horus's real intentions, and a lot of like, did he fall? Was he tricked? Did he intend to do it? They were like, what if we focused like the last 4 books on Horus's perspective? Like, what if we just gave you that, and that was like one of the main modes we're going to convey the end of the siege.
Sure. And then at the end, they're like, was he tricked? Was he merely corrupted by evil? Did he make a choice? Choose your own adventure. It's like, oh, thanks. Yeah.
The answer is yes to
Warp,
all of them.
warp bullshit again.
Wow. Well, maybe.
Maybe.
So do we want to jump
Anyway,
right into the book? Because it
do
is.
we want to? It's a big one.
It's
Do
a
we
big
want to
one.
start at the end? I think we have stuff to talk about at
You
the
want
end.
you want to start at the end? What about the end and the death?
Yeah.
Okay,
We
yeah.
read the end, the very, very end of the End and the Death.
Yes.
Yes.
Volume 3, Dan Abnett. Came out January 2024. We almost managed to read a book in the year it came out, but we just missed it
Yes.
by a year, like a week.
Oh, close.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it ended so recently. I
Yeah.
thought it was a 2023 or maybe 2022.
Nope.
Awesome.
Yeah.
When did it start? When was the Horus Rising released?
2001.
Oh my... What? Are you serious? I thought it was like
oh,
20, like 10 or something.
Excuse me, I was way off. 2006.
Okay, okay, a little
So-
better.
A little better. Yeah.
Wow, so it took him 18... Do maths, Falcon. We can do maths.
19
Hold on.
years. Well, no, 18,
19,
yeah.
18 years to write the Horus Heresy.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I'm kind of glad we did it this way, because I really enjoyed it. And it was like, well, the next book will be coming out in a couple of months. And
Or
this will be
years.
finishing in, say, 2024. I'd have been like, no. Yeah, or years, exactly.
Or it's like, oh, the next book's coming out in years, but it's an anthology, and you maybe have already read 1 or 2 of the short stories. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
that would have just killed everything, I think.
yeah, not fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, amazing, amazing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we got to the end.
Yeah. What?
Yeah, it was a good book. I feel like it wraps it up quite nicely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You wanted to talk about things at the end. What kind of things? What bits?
Just the Horus thing, right? Because he's like, this whole thing is, I've got all these extra thrones for my father and for Dorn and for my brothers, and I'm going to try to convert them to chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, I sure hope they do, because it'd be so fun to rule over this chaos galaxy with my best friends and my dad at my side.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's like, this is like weirdly wholesome, Horus.
Yes, there's a lot of like Horus actually being like, but he is your dad. Like, he is my dad.
Yeah.
And I'd rather not kill him Uh,
Oh,
but
totally rather not kill him.
yeah.
Which he proves several, several times during this fight that he'd rather not kill the Emperor.
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, interesting. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what to make of Horus as a character. Because we've got all this stuff where it's like, yeah, he launched the heresy. He,
Mm-hmm.
torched worlds. He brought chaos to Terra. He murdered trillions of people.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like, he's not quite super interested in killing Sanguinius. He's not super mega interested in killing the Emperor.
Right, but
He'll do it. If they reject him, he'll do it.
yeah.
Because it needs to be done. But
Mm-hmm.
it's not something he's, like, relishing. It's not like
Right.
something he's super into doing from
Yeah.
the word go.
Yeah, okay, so at the start of the Horus Heresy, Horus is very magnanimous, right? Like, and that's how he wants to lead. He wants people to do what he says, and if he can look generous doing it, he'll do it. And now that he has
Yeah.
godlike power, he's willing to spare them so he can look merciful. I don't. I think his ego is like swollen with his powers, and he's like, it'll look better if I can turn those who stayed loyal right at the end, right? If I can do that without having to kill them, and like when the emperor is
Yeah.
like dying a bunch, he's like, oh, he's trying to ruin your perfect ascendancy because if you turn this into a messy, scrappy brawl, it'll look bad.
Fair point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I do remember him talking about like the optics of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, it would look better if I was not like the sole emperor,
Mm-hmm.
but just part of the old regime and all that stuff. So, So you think it's just pure ego then?
Um, kind of. Yeah. I mean, I think deep down he doesn't want to have to kill his brothers. Like deep down, that tiny little human core that he has to keep around, right? And that he considers like, even to himself, he considers it like a memento of the man he used to be. But he
Yeah.
kind of needs to keep it around, otherwise he just completely detaches from reality. I think that part of him doesn't want to kill his brothers, doesn't want to kill his dad, and is the part that like at the very final moments is like pleading with the emperor to kill him, to be like, don't let chaos infest me again. You know,
Like,
please
end this.
end
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like there's a small part of him, but I think it's a small part.
Huh? Sorry, what was that last part? My kids bugged me at the last part there.
I think it's a small part of him that doesn't want to kill them, but it's a small part.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But so he like drains himself all of the warp power at the end there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or like is in the process of draining it
Yeah.
because Loken basically
Well,
like did a psyop.
not Loken. The Emperor
Sorry,
appearing as Loken is like,
yes, correct. Good call.
yeah, prove that you're still a man to like
Right.
these people. Give up the power.
Like you've killed the emperor,
For-
you've done what you came to do.
Yeah, give it up. Prove that you're still a man. Prove that you're like still one of us, and like, you know, just look at yourself objectively, right? Through what everyone else is going to see. That you don't have to be this creature of shadow. You've just killed a golden king in a cathedral of darkness. Like, we don't need this aspect anymore. You can shed it. And
Right.
so he goes to do that, and the gods like, you don't get to spurn us. And so they take a little bit of time when he like starts to claw right back for the power. The moment that he knows the emperor's still kicking, he's like, give it back, and he's clawing for the power. Even though the emperor is a broken thing on the floor, he's still, I don't know, scared. He's still like, I need the power because anyone who can't do what I say has to be overwhelmed and killed, right? Like, he's just like,
Right. Totally.
it's immediately about control again. And
Yeah.
I think Abaddon reflects this at the end when he's talking to Loken, and he says, the Imperium will never acknowledge that we had valid points for turning, that we were betrayed as Astartes who built the Imperium, and I'll never be controlled again. For them, it's about being in power.
Right.
Even if that's, at the time it could have been about just the Imperial war machine, but now for Horus it was about the Imperium at large.
Sure,
There are
sure.
parallels. Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally.
Mm.
But I just find it interesting that once he's like divested of most of the warp power,
Mm.
did he complete that process? I don't feel like he did.
Complete what process? Like he got rid of all of it?
Like, yeah,
I think he got rid of like most of it. I mean, that's the
yeah.
problem of saying like he's a god. He has infinite power. What does getting rid of most of infinite look like?
Well, to me, it's more like the tools to access the power, maybe.
Yeah, yeah,
Like the tool set that he uses to draw on the warp, he's like dropping that, right?
sure, yeah. That could be.
So,
That's one way to look at it. Yeah, I don't
so
think
when he
that's wrong.
drops it, the warp has to go.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what?
I don't think that's wrong. That's one way to look at it.
Okay.
Like, that's a.
Yeah. So basically, he drops the tools that allow him to draw on the warp power. It leaves him. It's
Mm,
in the process of leaving him. And as it's leaving him, he basically begs to end what he's been doing, for an end to come for what he's been doing this for decades.
well, when you
So,
hold on, when you say an end to decades, the heresy or like being
yeah,
well,
the heresy.
okay, the heresy's not decades old, but it's a while. It's not even a decade, but it's some time. It's not decades.
Okay, years and years and years.
Yeah, yeah. It's just feeling like he like removes all the warp from him, and then he realizes he's been a slave for centuries isn't quite the same thing because he hasn't been swollen with power since the start of the heresy, basically since Molech, and that was relatively recently. So I don't know. I don't feel like there's a time layer where he's like, "Oh, I've been stuck in warp hell, being controlled like a Jeff Dunham puppet," you know?
Okay, so you're saying he gets turned on Davin,
Mm-hmm.
he gets sliced with a corrupted blade,
Mm-hmm.
it puts him in a coma. Erebus basically works it so that he gets put into a vision
Mm-hmm.
where he knows how the Emperor feels about him, and
Well, he sees the future, and then
yeah,
unknowingly creates that future by turning, because
yeah,
all prophecy is tricksy.
it is. But I mean, the logical reason is because he basically understands the Emperor doesn't really see him as a son as much as he would like. He sees him
Uh,
as like it's a percentage, right? But he sees him more as a tool to do the things that he wants to get done.
yeah, like a lot of it is the Emperor lied about the fundamental nature of chaos, like,
Yeah,
and
that too.
that's the turning. It's not
Is
necessarily
that
a,
it?
yeah, a lot of it is that,
Really?
yeah.
Like, oh, you lied to us about the dark and scary stuff out there. I'm gonna murder you and burn everything down. I don't buy that.
Well, I mean, you've read those books. That's what happened.
No, but there's the other stuff in there too, where basically he comes to believe that the Emperor is unfeeling towards him.
Yeah.
I think that's more about it.
I think that's definitely there, but like the bare bones, like what happens in the first three books is Horus is revealed that like the Emperor lied to him about the natures of chaos and like
Yep.
what the warp is, and
Yep.
you can absolutely use that. Like he hid the fundamental nature of the universe from us, things that we could control because we're Astartes, we can control everything, and he used this. You got to remember also, Erebus totally lies to him there, then saying that like what the Emperor's doing is making demons and ruining the warp with his actions, and the warp wants you to be like an ambassador to like bring peace between you two, right?
Yeah, I remember that. I don't know if that was entirely a big
But
part of this, but yes.
no, but if Horus's plan is or feeling is that like I need to stop the Emperor because something bad is happening, right? Like we're building something in the warp that we can't control, or he thinks that they can control, but the Emperor's like, no, you can't, and you don't even deserve to try. There's definitely a feeling of being a tool there.
Yeah.
A lot of it is abandonment after Ulanor. He's like,
Yep.
he just up and left our sons to like complete this great work. What are we tools? That's totally a part of it. Yeah. Um, and I think as
Yes.
like Russ comes to stab him and other brothers turn away from him, you know, that probably leans more and more as part of his reasoning, not feeling like a trusted son. But, you know, I don't think we get a lot of supporting moments for that outside of this book, because this is
Right.
the book where we get the most Horus perspective.
True.
Yeah.
So, my larger question is,
Hmm.
okay, so you're saying he's basically himself, just with his mind changed after Davin.
Yeah. There
So he's
might
not infested. He's not.
he I don't know that he bears any chaos marks at that point. I don't think they talk about that. He's definitely been like resurrected, but he's not a chaos cultist immediately, right?
So what? So was the purpose of the corrupted blade just to put him under? Like
Yeah,
it's just a
yeah,
coma blade?
yeah. The corrupted blade was just there because they needed a weapon that could hurt him.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Because I always interpreted it to be a corrupting influence, like a getting into his head, getting into his
I mean,
soul.
that's a question with all the things in the warp. If it's like if he got stabbed by this and he was put under by the warp, what tinkering did it do to his neurochemistry? You know, like
Right.
if you said I think that the blade had a corrupting influence and that made him more susceptible to like accept the Book of Lorgar or Erebus's keenness to use demons to communicate long distance and
Right.
human sacrifice to do all this stuff. I I wouldn't disagree necessarily. I just wouldn't say he got stabbed and that's why he was suddenly very evil.
Yeah.
Like, and it was the stabbing because the knife was magic. I think that's a little simple. Uh,
Totally simple. Right. Again, we're talking about percentages here. Like, how much is any one thing responsible for the
mm,
decisions that Horus made?
sure.
Right? Because it's not that Erebus came up to Horus one day and said, "Hey, here's some truths. You
Hmm.
should join us." And like, the warp is cool now. Kill your dad. And he's like,
That's an
I
excellent
am
plan.
really. These are excellent arguments,
Yeah.
Erebus. Let's do that.
Right.
Right?
Hmm.
That's not how this went down. But part of it was that he had to be convinced, that he had to make up his own mind on some level
Hmm.
to take the actions that he did. He
Yeah.
wasn't just turned into a puppet immediately.
Right. Even Erebus in the dream on Davin, it requires not the Emperor, Horus to choose to be like Magnus
Hmm.
presents him with a choice. It's like you can choose death, or you can choose to fight against your father, who will become worshipped as a god, and you will not be included. He doesn't
Yeah.
know that that's because of him, but you know,
Yeah.
it's
It's a
definitely,
truth.
definitely percentages there. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
So, but then you're arguing that later on, after Moloch, after he becomes swollen with warp
Warp.
power,
Yeah. Then he's more
that
of a
at that
direct
point
puppet. He's
he
just big puppet.
becomes a puppet at that point.
Yeah, that's.
So he still has an internal monologue
Uh
where
huh.
he still feels like he's in control of what's happening.
Mhm.
He still chooses not to kill his father
Mhm.
a few times during their fight,
Mhm.
and the Chaos Gods are pissed at him. They're like, "What the hell, man? Like
Yeah.
this is the whole point of this thing." And he's like, I'm gonna prop him up on this, on this throne I made for him, and
Mm.
he's gonna rule with me. I'm gonna show him all of the truths." And they're like, "You idiot! You're supposed to kill him."
Right.
So he's not that much of a puppet.
Okay, so to Horus, the deal is they give him power, but he gets control. He becomes a god, but
Yeah.
they give him power. To them, they give him power, but he kills the emperor. Um, and the ability to say no is the interesting point there that I think you're getting at. Like his ability to say, "I don't want to kill the emperor," but the problem is they've invested in him control, I guess, and he's exercising it, and they don't like it.
Right.
Um, but it's very
Why
much
do that?
It's fundamental to Loken. Well, the Emperor as Loken's argument is that he doesn't really have control. That they have swollen him with power just to kill him, and the moment he gives up the power, they're pissed at him because it's like they have to kill him. Like they want to kill the Emperor. That's all they care about.
Right.
And Horus at that point sees it, but even knowing that, still reaches for the power once he realizes the Emperor can still hurt him, right? Like, he knows at that point the powers only want the Emperor dead, that they've absolutely just swollen him to gross proportions with warp magic just to kill his dad, and he still reaches for it, right? Like, he knows that's all they want, and he still chooses them again.
Yes,
Yeah.
but why?
But
That's the
why?
question,
For
right?
control. That was what I said earlier. Like, it's all about control and power, and he doesn't want anyone who could stand against him. And it's like, the Emperor could hurt him. He could maybe die. He maybe not. He's still a Primarch against a half-dead man, but still felt he needed the power to do that. I think that's a corrupting influence. Like, again, did he give up all the power and then rush to take it back in? I don't think so. I don't think he gave it all up. I think that's a corrupting influence to make that choice to, like, reach for all the power again.
Okay.
You disagree?
No, I think that makes sense.
No.
So effectively, he did choose, but he was influenced. So it's like,
It was a weighted choice.
yeah.
Chaos put their hands on the scale a little bit in his mind. Because
Which again is part of the reason the Emperor was like, "Don't mess around with chaos."
right. And I mean, if Horus really had the power to choose, he could have chosen not to ensiege Terra, to not do it this way. But he chose war. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's still how much he was choosing not to kill the Emperor versus, I don't know. He was still influenced enough that he had to do it this way in his mind. Like, there was no other option. It had to be war. It had to be dueling in Yu-Gi-Oh! And parrying blows by shifting the metaphysical landscape to specific times and places to hurt each other, you know? It had to be this
Right.
way. It couldn't have just been a conversation.
Right. Well, I don't think it could have been a conversation because there's no way the Emperor is like, yes, Horus, you make excellent points. Let me change everything I'm doing and everything I'm planning to do for millennia and follow you. Like, that's not going to happen.
That's not
Even
gonna
if
happen.
Horus is right, the Emperor's not doing it. The Emperor's too much of a stubborn dick. Like, the books are very clear about that.
Right, but like the Emperor can be reasoned with. Sanguinius reasoned that he should go on a Nabasis.
Yeah.
Against, like, the Emperor
one
can
time.
right, but the Emperor can have his mind changed. Horus could have been like, "You should have told us, Father," and he's like, "You know what? You do make some good points, but you're kind of a monstrosity now."
Yeah. You think Horus has the Davin experience? Wanders back to Terra. It's like, hey man, we have a chat, Dad. Like, here's some stuff I've learned. Like, maybe you're doing it wrong. How does that go?
It's interesting, but he's like down in his dungeon, right?
Yeah.
I don't think
Trying to do the Webway project. I get it.
Yeah, but the Primarch's not allowed down there. I think he gets there, and the custodians are like, "No."
You think if he's like, tell my dad I know all about the warp and I've been talking with chaos gods. You think the Emperor's like, yeah, some other time, dude. Right?
No, okay, the Emperor probably comes up, but like, I don't know. It's because I vaguely remember there being a story where like one of the Primarchs is like going to Terra and they're like, "Yeah, you can't see your dad. He's busy. Like, he's just busy." And it might have been after like Magnus did his whole webway bullshit attack by accident.
Yeah, after everything's gone to hell anyway, like,
Right.
too late.
When,
right?
when he can't get up from the throne, it's too late at that
Yeah,
point.
right.
Which
But I'm
that
saying
might have been, that might not have been. I don't remember.
Yeah, but before that, hypothetical situation. Obviously, this didn't happen, but I don't think the Emperor gives a shit. I think he's like, you've been delving into stuff you weren't supposed to. I'm pissed at you now. This is not how we're doing things. We're still doing things my way. And your job is to forget everything that you know and keep doing what you're supposed to be doing. Go conquer worlds in my name, and I'll check up on you later. Bye.
I think it depends on the son. Because, like,
Horus, his firstborn, his first found, the one
Maybe.
he spent How long alone with? 30 years?
Those perfect 30
Alone
years.
with?
Which is funny
Yeah.
because, again, the Alpha Legion. Uh, you, you can't say Alpha Legion without laughing about like all the tricksy stuff, but
Can't do it.
no. It's strongly implied that Alfarius was the first found, in that he like probably also never
What?
left the Emperor. Yeah, so the Alfarius has a book, um, the Codex Hydra, I think it's called, where because there's two of them, one of them was always around. Like he basically his pod like almost never leaves Terra. It's like much closer than even Horus's. So like even before Terra was unified, the Alpharius might have been around being trained by the Emperor already. But
Uh, okay. Pretty
yeah,
mythication. Good grief. Uh-huh.
yeah. But it stands that Horus is the first found because he was never lost, and it's like, but you weren't really alone with your dad. You, the CIA were already there. Like,
Yeah, but the Primarch wasn't like, oh, and there's Alfarius. He's kicking it back on Terra. Let's introduce you to him, was he?
who?
Did the Emperor say that to
No,
Horus? He's
no,
like,
no, no, no. He's because he knows that the Alpha Legion are all secrets and stuff. So he's like, nope.
he's like,
Let's.
whatever. You guys do your thing.
Yep.
Horus, you're the first found. Nobody else exists.
Exactly. Yeah.
So wait, so when are they publicly made part of the whole thing?
When they find the other Primarch at the end as the last one.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh. So Alfarius never got lost.
Mm-hmm.
Omegron got booted out into the galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Interesting.
Um.
Anyway, point
Anyway,
is,
does the Emperor
Horus comes. I'm your beloved son. We spent a lot of great time together. You love me. You entrusted me with your freaking war effort.
I think maybe the Emperor does have a chat there, and he goes, "Look, I've seen some shit. I was brought back by the power of the warp. We need to have a conversation." It's possible that conversation happens, but like
Yeah.
the story needs to happen, so it doesn't, right?
I know, like, humor me though, because the point is, how open is the Emperor to this discussion? And I say, not at all. I say the Emperor says, go back and do your job. Bye.
I think
What do you
he's
think?
I think he's open to the discussion, right? Like if they somehow found out about chaos, because like okay, one of the
Yeah,
other
'cause
primars
statistically, they probably will.
they probably will. They all do eventually, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing: it depends on the circumstance, right? Because Jagatai
Yeah.
Khan is one of the ones that are like, yeah, our psyche is we have like the path of heaven, and we know all about chaos and that it's evil. We just don't talk about it. I think
Right.
if Jagatai came and had a conversation, he'd be like, "Father, this thing's shit. We need to figure out a way to like defeat this," you know. And he's like, "Don't worry,
Yeah.
bro. Don't worry, son. I'm working on it."
On it, sure.
Horus turns up and goes, "I got stabbed by a magic blade, and then I was in a warp vision with Magnus." And he probably goes, okay. I don't think he says, "Go back to work." He says, "Go back to lightning bolt." You know.
No. What are you talking about?
I think the Emperor just kills him.
Okay, so that you're with me on this. You're just a little more extreme on the reaction.
Right. I think
Okay.
it just depends.
Okay.
Like if Horus had found out about chaos in a relatively harmless way, if that's the way to put it, or at least a non-corrupting, influencing way, I think the Emperor might have that conversation with him and like open up and let him in. Like he does choose him to be the War Master. At some point, you're going to have to fight chaos things. He probably would have had to tell them something at some point.
Right.
You know?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I mean, even if the Webway project is completed,
Mm-hmm.
don't you still have to worry about the influence of chaos and the warp on your sons? Like, that doesn't go away just because you're using the Webway now.
Well, you're assuming the Webway project is the end of the plan,
Oh,
and not
right.
just another step, and there was more to it. So I think that the threat of chaos doesn't like go away, but when you stop depending on psyches for astro communication and warp travel and, you know, the things you need an empire to have, or any civilization, communication and travel.
Yeah.
Um, you can be much better insulated against it. It's entirely
Okay.
possible the next set of the plan is kill all the psychers instead,
Sure.
right?
I get that.
So once you have free travel and free communication to basically everywhere, uh, you don't need a lot of warriors. Like the Malcador has some lines I think in one of these books where he's like, we would have rehabilitated the less warlike ones, the less ones enraptured by war. I don't know if it's in this book. It might have been in another book I was reading. But
Okay.
basically, the plan was some of the Primarchs would have been straight up cold because like you can't save Angron, but we need
Nope.
him for the time. But people
Can't
like,
save Kurz. Sorry, Kurz. I
well,
know you love him.
Kurz is such a good little boy. He likes kids. They're tasty.
He does like tasty kids.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Some of them would have been totally like reformed and like they wouldn't have needed warriors. And when you're not going around committing blunt force trauma on the galaxy, right?
Yeah.
Chaos is probably weakened. You know.
Weakened, but every once in a while they're gonna poke through and whisper sweet nothings into a Primarch's ear and find another Erebus. You know what I mean?
I mean,
I don't think it's 100%
I
warp-proof idea,
no, probably not.
is it?
Probably not. But
Okay.
like a lot of what the warp is doing is like they went after Horus because he was the War Master, because he had power, prestige, and influence, and he's like the pivotal guy to turn. Right?
Yeah.
That's one of Loken's things. He's like, Chaos never went after me like they did you. If Gulliman got his dream where he gets to just live out as his life as a farmer by himself, just like on Sother, and it's a perfect paradise. Do you think Chaos cares if he turns? Like, there's nothing to gain there because he's just like a guy farming.
Right.
So if you get rid of all of the rehabilitatable Primarchs, and they're all just like Podoraba's just like designing cathedrals and symphony opera houses and all that stuff, and like nobody's going to war, and they're all just like living their best life. Do you think Chaos goes, well, I need to turn all of these or some of these somehow? And it's like, I just want to build stuff. I just want to grow my farm. Do
Sure.
you think Chaos has a better hold on it now than it does? Better chance to get a hold than it does now?
No, I think it's definitely harder.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. But like you still got orcs out there, right? I
Sure.
mean,
Yeah. And Necrons
yeah,
haven't even gotten up, and Tyranids haven't
right.
floated from the galactic edge.
Right.
Like there's a lot of need for still to have warriors in 40k that like 30k that just like we'll just pretend they don't exist because they don't know about them.
Right. Because the galaxy's a big place.
Either that or like a part of the Emperor's plan is that you just don't need 20 legions by the end of it. Like when these problems crop up, they'll happen more or less one at a time, and a unified Imperium, all working for together without the influence of the chaos, like turning us on each other all the time. Just the Ultramarines and the Salamanders will be enough, and the White Scars, that'll be
Sure.
plenty. Like we won't really need a whole lot more than that. We'll still be colossally, monstrously militaristic in really awful ways, but
Right.
it'll be enough. We have to just assume because like the Emperor's not telling what his plan was.
Right.
This is
Right.
all assumptions.
But I mean, you empower the warp through death and suffering, right?
That's one way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, even if it's at a smaller scale than it was during the wars of conquest and whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, still dealing with an orc outbreak is a lot of death, a lot of suffering, right?
Yeah. Um. I'm trying to think of the way that works because okay, so orcs have psykers, right?
Yeah.
And they have their own gods, Gork and Mork.
Mhm.
One is brutally
Right.
cunning, the other one is cunningly brutal. Um,
Yes.
orcs have their own like warp area. Like they pull magic down from the warp, not from the rest of the warp, but from like their Gorkenmork bubble, right? Of the warp.
Sure.
So orcs rarely get chaos infested.
Mm-hmm.
It's also entirely possible that the Emperor was seeding acts of faith and would create a human bubble of warp protection. That's possible. It's also just like, I don't know, orcs, if we're like using them as a specific example, and that you still have a lot of war with orcs, you're really only empowering like Khorne. Like Slanesh doesn't get a lot out of the orcs. It's a lot of like just for when the blood spills. Nurgle, not a whole lot. And Zeech, almost nothing, right?
Right.
And so it's a fundamental aspect of the great game that the four old ones are all in constant battle with each other. It is entirely possible that you can tip the balance in Khorne's favor by just fighting the chaos, fighting orcs. Khorne takes over, and then you just have to stop fighting.
Right, but you can't because of the nature of everything. There is no end to the fighting.
Sure, but like if you were to exterminate all the orcs, who are you fighting?
Which you can't. You've told me before. You cannot exterminate the orcs.
I mean, you can't because 40k is endless war, and you can't just kill off one of the. But you can. You can totally kill all the orcs. Like, if you burn them, they die. If you shoot them, they die. And then like, burn their spores and their bodies. Like, they stop coming back. Like, orcs are mushrooms. You know this, right? Like, they just grow. Yeah. So if you just burn all their bodies...
And the galaxy's a big place. You kill all of them you know about. And then in this corner, over here, 80 million light years away, they're growing again.
Yeah, but you know what you have? The webway. And your 80 million light years is a day's journey.
Okay. But I'm just saying, so you have to keep a constant surveilling eye on the entire galaxy for orc infestations. So you can smash them before they get too big. You can do that.
I'm saying that if you have a plan of galactic proportions, planning to surveil the galaxy is not a reach. I think that's not terribly difficult to think you can do.
Okay, so with the webway, with the plans, the idea is that you basically cut back on everything the Chaos Gods can feed on and grow on, including Gorn. Just by making a giant surveillance system and turning the galaxy into 1984.
I mean, I assure you, it was already 1984 in the Imperium. Right?
But I mean, yes.
Look, I'm not saying the Emperor has a good plan. I'm not saying this is his plan. I'm just picking it to pieces and like.
Okay.
This is entirely speculation.
Sure.
Yeah.
But based on what we know and the pieces that we do know, it'd be a way, maybe.
There'd be a way, maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right.
The Emperor seems to at least think so.
Yeah.
And
but
like
the Emperor thinks a lot of things.
all the other perpetuals that are like he's like in a rush and he's really heavy-handed. They don't disagree that he can do it. Like they're like. His plan's brutal, but they never disagree that the conclusion is that it'll work, No,
but the complaint is that what are the effects of him completing his plan that he didn't look at or consider when he did his plan? He never looked at the far-reaching consequences of creating Primarchs and creating millions of Space Marines to flood out into the galaxy, right? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, effectively, more than one person in these books are like, this heresy is your fault, Emperor. Like, if you hadn't created the Primarchs, if you hadn't done all this stuff, then all this suffering, all this death, all this conquest, the rising of the four gods, the merging of chaos with Terra never would have happened. All your fault.
Accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's an important message here, I think.
Have patience.
Just like take your time, and that's something even Alanius is like. I don't think he specifically says that, but he feels just like The Emperor, you are a perpetual. You will live forever. Why are you in an all-fired rush all the time?
Hmm.
Why do you never consider long-term effects of these big, big, big things you do? If you were immortal, I'd get it. You have 90 years to enact your plans. Rushing makes sense to me.
Hmm.
But you get to go forever. Like, sit down, take a couple decades, study some things, try to figure some stuff out.
I mean, counterpoint, he's taken 30,000 years.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
now's the moment to get shit done. The last 5 steps in any plan always looks like they're rushed because the first 100 was spent over millennia planning. It's like if this was a 1 million step plan that he's been following and we're on the final 12, it's definitely gonna feel like he's punching through them very quickly because he's already done a bunch. You just weren't there because you stabbed him, Elias.
yeah. The greatest moments in the history of this whole thing. It's
Yeah,
great.
it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Ah.
Sure, but okay, so then that counter argument basically stipulates that the Emperor took the time to look at the possible outcome of creating his plan with the Primarchs and the legions,
Mhm.
and either one did not foresee this eventuality,
Mhm.
or two foresaw the eventuality, decided it wasn't a big risk,
Mhm.
or three foresaw the eventuality, came up with a counter plan. The counter plan sucked and it failed,
Mhm.
or four saw the eventuality. I don't think there's a fourth one. There's just three. I don't know. I went with four.
I think the Emperor absolutely foresaw this eventuality. Like,
Okay.
Malcador has some lines where it's like we knew that some of them would turn eventually. They
Mm.
definitely had that configuration like semi mapped, right?
Okay. Okay.
I think he definitely foresaw it. Does that mean he thinks it wouldn't have been as bad as it is? Maybe.
Ooh, that's
May-
another option. Yeah.
Maybe he expected more of his sons to stay loyal, and
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah, but knowing his sons, like, no matter who gets turned, you're like, well, Angron's in.
yeah.
Kurz is probably in, right?
Again, you got to remember his sons were supposed to be raised by him, right? Imagine
Yeah.
he foresaw some of them turning, but
Yeah.
he was considering it from a world where he got to raise them.
Right. Very true.
Yeah.
Very true. So Kurz is not Kurz. Angron is not Angron.
Angron, I think you could definitely say Angron's not Angron. Kurz is like one half raised in Gotham as a planet,
Hell.
and the other half is tortured by psychic visions of
Yeah.
hell. I don't think the Emperor raising Kurz gets rid of his visions.
Sanguinius has the visions too, and he's fine.
Yeah, but Sanguinius is the bright
Sanguinius
angel. He's
is
perfect.
Kurz without being raised having to like murder other children to eat. Like that's the difference here. I think Kurz is very much a product of his environment.
I think you may be forgetting that Sanguinius is the blood guy of the blood guy, and they're all cannibals and vampires and stuff.
All,
I think Sanguinius has maybe eaten some people in his time.
right, but he wasn't raised in an environment where he was starving to death and had to kill other children to survive.
Probably not.
Right. The cannibalism, fine, but that's a different thing. Anywho's, okay, fine. So basically, he has this plan to raise his Primarchs on Terra and instill upon them good things and not have their nervous systems implanted with horrendously
Pain
advanced
engines.
technology that
Yep.
turns them into monsters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But then once that happens, once they scatter,
Once they scatter, you get to a big problem where the Emperor no longer trusts that he can tell them things because they've been scattered by the warp, right? Like
Yeah.
Chaos has broken into one of his most secure sanctuaries, which
or did it?
we later learn had like it was an inside job.
Right.
Warp fuel can't melt steel beams, that kind of thing. Um,
I
and
got to
he-
go to that in a minute here, but go ahead.
and yeah, so the Emperor, like a lot of the reasons why the Emperor doesn't tell anyone things is because it's like, what if chaos is already in these? Because he looks at events like scattering by the warp or getting stabbed with a magic blade as being corrupting influences on these people's souls, you know?
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
But
But
Erda, right?
Erda, yeah, what about
Erda
it?
splits with him
Uh-huh.
because she doesn't agree with what he's doing.
Mm-hmm. Keeps one of the things she disagrees with as a pet or a
Yeah,
bodyguard.
as a pet, pet bodyguard.
Pet bodyguard.
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm.
He's involved in the scattering of the Primarchs,
In some capacity.
but we don't know. Like, there's not a chronology here, right? There's
Um,
warp bullshit time travel that happens in the early stages of the Heresy, right?
what do you mean to time travel? What? As in that they get from Terra to across the galaxy in an instant is technically time travel.
In an instant, and then are involved in the scattering of the test tube Primarchs.
What? No, hold on. Okay, what? What do you?
Yeah.
What's the
no,
time travel? What's
after-
the time travel bit?
No, during Davin or after Davin or I don't know. What's the
What?
chronology here?
The time what?
Remember when?
Oh, you mean that the warp shows Horus a very convincing vision of the Primarchs being scattered and talks to the Emperor and he's like, don't do it, and the Emperor's like, this is a warp bullshit thing, and lets the warp take his sons. But Horus is there.
No.
Is that the warp time travel thing?
Like is Abaddon like I think some of his like Mournival are involved and like they're doing some warpy stuff and they end up back in time in the facility where the Primarchs are being created.
Mm,
And then
I do remember this story now.
Yeah.
But I don't know if
And then they very specifically take some actions to like create the scattering.
scattering.
Because remember we talked about this, and I was like, oh, okay. So this is what happened. It's very good story, important.
Yeah. I remember. Was it? It's not in Valdor. I remember it being a thing, but I don't know that they're like. The warp is using time travel to self-perpetuate itself.
That's what I understood was happening for sure.
I think it's always about showing people information that like here's this thing that happened. That like for Horus it was the Emperor let you guys get scattered. That was the important piece of information that it was showing him.
Uh-huh.
I definitely remember there being a bit where like there were some space marines that got scattered who were like there as well.
Yeah.
I don't remember what they did and if it was enough to be like and they caused it. You know?
I specifically remember that happening. Like, and again, whether it was a vision or something, and it wasn't them actually doing it or not, I don't know, because warp stuff.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
The scattering of the Primarchs may have been the result of a causal loop created when Argyle and his men went back in time in the Eye of Terror.
Yeah.
This is
or-
the first
yeah.
Terror. Yeah. To the
Yeah.
Emperor's laboratory, where they were convinced by Ingolthed the Ascended, a demon, to destroy
Yes.
the Gellerfields, protecting the infants from the touch of the Chaos Gods.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the
So-
thing. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. No. I remember that now. Now that I've read that, yes, I definitely remember it.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Okay. So.
So that happens, and then like years later in the Heresy, they're like, "Here's this Erda character. She scattered the Primarchs," and I'm like, "But also,
She had a hand in it. They also, we're not going to tell you what hand that was, only that there are demons
No.
in the warp. Maybe
No.
Ingolthed the Ascended is, since we know how demons are born now,
Right.
is the demon that is created when Erda was killed.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
I like that. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, it still doesn't explain why Erda knows that she did this thing.
Right.
But, you know.
Wait, she very specifically is taking responsibility for the scattering of the Primarch. She's like, I did this because I disagreed with what the Emperor was doing.
Right.
And I am in self-imposed exile here because of this thing. So yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
This feels like
she definitely...
a bit of an issue with the writing.
Yeah, it's definitely like a retcon to be like, and then there was Erda, the Primarch's mothers did a thing.
Right.
Sure. Yeah, I guess. I think it's better to be like, and then here's Erda, and she did a thing. What I'm gonna tell you, then causal loop is better. You know, I'm not gonna. I don't know how I feel about that.
Causal loop, honestly.
The time travel hating guy is more okay with causal loop.
They've got rules for it, and they're following their own rules about it. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I don't look. My brain can't get around it, but like they do it more than once. They follow the same pattern, and fine.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm fine with causal loop as well. Like, cool. I'm not like, this breaks everything. I have to throw away my models.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's like a billion other things that happen in this book. Holy smokes, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yes.
Yeah. We're gonna talk about Ollie's Big Adventure.
Ollie's Big Adventure. I would love to see, you know, like Saturday morning cartoon version of just what he's doing called Ollie's Big Adventure, and it's just him being like, I'm here with my friends and we're harvesting some grain, and then they're cutting through the reality into the wall, and oh shit, it's demons everywhere. Like, that's the vibe of it. Everything's nice, and then it's not. Yeah, okay.
Got a magic talking evil dagger.
Yeah. So, did everything get renewed at the end of the last book with the Emperor? He gave up the Dark King. He heals all of them. Ollie and his friends are mostly dead. Ol and Grammaticus are like, we gotta go around the city and plant some red string so we can find our way later on, because causal loop.
Again, causal loops, right.
Yep. They do that, and then they realize that they have the magic knife, and it's fixed, and the Emperor needs it, because it's a magic knife that you can stab the Horus with.
Yeah, because, I mean, we're not sure, but it's a pretty evil magic knife, so, like, it's worth a shot, right?
Right.
Like, they don't know anything. They don't know this is going to do jack. But they're like, it's a super evil stabby knife, and it's magic, and, you know, we have to fight fire with fire here, so clearly it'll hurt Horus. But, like, they don't know that.
Do they not know that?
At no point do they express firm commitment knowledge that this will kill Horus. Not once.
Yeah, fair.
Okay.
But, I mean, they know it's a magic knife.
Yes, and they know there's a pretty good chance. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
Okay, all right, good.
All right.
So, yeah. So they end up getting teleported to where the Emperor is and where Horus is, thanks to the help of...
Acte,
Catte.
I think is a better name.
Yeah,
Catte.
who has merged with the poor little psyker girl that's been part of the friend group from Calth.
So she's now Katarina Morgana. Did you? I definitely knew this was about to happen because I've read the book before. But when you were reading this, when she's like staring at herself in her reflection in the glass, and it's like, something's wrong with my reflection, were you like, did you pick up and recognize the fact that this character is supposed to be blind and can't see her reflection? And it should maybe have been somewhat troubling for her to be like, my reflection looks a bit weird. I have a reflection that I can see.
But again, I don't connect Akate to Melisande. Mercedes, what's her name?
Euphrates. It's not Mercedes Olison. She's a remembrancer. You're talking about
the blind girl.
Yeah.
Who got turned into a perpetual accidentally.
Cyrene Valentin. Right.
Cyrene, thank you.
Right, but like, you know,
straight.
But you know that Acte is blind. You don't need to connect her to remember that Acte is supposed to be blind.
She sure doesn't act blind.
She has
At
warp
no
sight.
point is she like, I need someone to direct me somewhere to explain what we're looking at. She's functionally seeing.
She's like tough. She can see the
I
area
know.
around her,
I
but she
know.
can't see her reflection.
Well, again, I did not. At no point did I say Acte is blind.
Okay.
Not a single time did that ever enter into my brain.
Even though Dan Abnett definitely touches on it like 2 or 3 times.
When she's Acte, he does?
Yeah. There are definitely times where she goes like, where John's like, even though she can't see, she turns her head to like look at someone, right? And like knows where he is, you know? John's
Right.
like, she's blind, her eyes are covered in bandages, but I can feel her like gaze up my back as they like walk through the secret entrance into the palace.
Okay, now that you mentioned that one tracks. But like my brain again refused to connect these dots.
Okay.
I read it and I was like, there's not a slot for that in this story, ignoring that line entirely.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Anywho's. So
okay.
the answer is no.
Okay. So I know you wanted to talk about John's adventure, but now that we're on to Katerina Morgana?
Right.
At the end of the book, I could have finished this book a couple days ago. I decided to leave it like the last hour of the audiobook, not a whole lot, till this morning.
Okay.
Because there's a ton of stuff that they just kind of wrap up and are like, these are characters from other places and stories that have a huge impact on 40k that you're not gonna know. And I think Katerina Morgana is one of them, right?
I figured as much.
Right?
Yeah.
And to reveal that, like, oh, this is Katerina. I did check the wiki to be like, to double check, because I only read the books where I think she's relevant recently, like last 6 months, and they're not listed under her character. Like, they're not like, we're not confirming that.
Oh.
But it is interesting if that's true, because I feel like at the end of this book, she's pretty, I don't know, she feels invested in the Imperium side, right? Like, she's helping out Dawn. If it is the reference to 40k, she's again going to flip back to chaos, basically.
Oh, fun. Okay,
yeah.
Good times. I mean, not too surprised, I guess.
Sort of. Like, she's a very interesting character because her job, she's like a prophet there, and she kind of just like saunters in to Chaos High Command and is like, I'm gonna tell you some shit. Maybe it's good for you, maybe it's not. Maybe I want to trick you, maybe I don't. So maybe we'll get to those books. They're good books. I enjoyed them thoroughly.
I mean, I believe it, mostly because she had Imperium loyalty kind of thrust upon her. Right?
Yeah.
She runs into Dorn, and Dorn's like, I need you to do this thing. Here, you're my acting representative now. And she's like,
sweet.
Okay.
Sweet, bro.
Yeah. So I get that. She's not exactly, making the decision herself.
Right.
To be all Imperium-y.
Yeah. But I just wanted to, like, I don't know, let you know that there's more to her.
Yeah.
That she does later. And like, I think that's supposed to be a big reveal. That, like, you're just definitely going to be like, who's Lillian Chase? Like, I don't think that should mean nothing to you, but like,
sure doesn't.
Means a lot to me. Please.
Yeah.
Obviously, Blanket, do not look up Lillian Chase's wiki page and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I can see you closing tabs right now.
Yeah.
Just feeling...
No.
Not
worried about it. We'll get there when we get there.
Yeah. Okay, so I think it was in like Saturnine or the Warhawk. There was a guy called Alanius Pius who I informed you that there was this story of a guardsman who stood down the Emperor with nothing but his trusty lasgun, and they had retconned it to be like, well, it's a story that maybe gets passed around and you don't know if it's true. Right. Alanius gets that. In the end, they let him have it. He stood down the Emperor with not but his lasgun.
That's true, and got smashed into a fine pink mist. He sure did.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Ollie.
Okay, but perpetual. Like,
But
That doesn't have any emotional heft. Like, congratulations. You put one of your many lives on the line to
he
temporarily protect the Emperor for 10 seconds.
he is one of the perpetuals that when you kill them, they die. He just
What?
has he has elf immortality.
No fucking way he's still alive then.
No, he's
He's
dead.
been a soldier for. No, but like to that point. He's been a soldier the vast majority of his extraordinarily millennia long life, and nobody shot him in the head once? Bull crap.
He's a good soldier. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to tell you. I don't think because what's the alternative here? The
Bad luck.
Horus rips him in half and then he gets back up.
Later, there's a delay, right?
Okay, I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm pretty sure he's dead.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. I believe
I
you.
mean,
I just think
if you prefer it, we can say that Horus is swollen with magic bullshit and took away his perpetuality. Like he tore his body in half and sundered his soul. You know
that I am more on board with
Okay,
than
great.
this random dude who has elfin lifespan, who spent the majority of his years
Hey man,
fighting wars.
I've seen Lord of the Rings. The elves go to war all the time. Some of them
and
are still alive.
die.
Yeah, some
You've
of
seen
them.
Helm's Deep.
Yeah, I have. But you know what? Glorfingel's still alive, and he killed a Balrog. Like, what do you want? Someone has to live. Congratulations, it was Alanius every time. Maybe by soldier, he's actually been the guy like 100 kilometers back from the front line, just giving orders. He's never actually been on the front line. He's just like a career general.
I mean, that would help a lot, honestly. You don't get shot at as much if you're a general.
Typically less.
Yeah, a lot less. Okay. I also accept your explanation that Horus removed his perpetuality and killed him at the same time. I'm down with that.
Okay, great.
Cool.
Great.
So anyway, they bring him the knife. They manage. Akate gets them warp translated to where the battle is happening.
Oh god, that was really funny because like in the audiobook, I think it's like 7 or 8 hours of like reading from when they get teleported, and they're like, we're gonna get teleported somewhere close to Horus. That'll be good enough. We'll just get on the Vengeful Spirit. We'll run there. We'll help. We'll be great. And then they're like, 8 hours go by, and you're like, and then they blink, and they are at the feet of Horus. They could reach out and touch him, and they're like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And you're like, you're like, oh yeah, that was like a loaded bullet that was on its way.
That was great. Like, we expected to be in the general vicinity, not within reaching distance of Horus.
Right, and like,
Yeah.
Horus is like, oh, these poor fools have made like a really bad miscalculation. I pity them.
They done fucked up.
How-
Yeah, he's more like bemused than anything else.
How did you like, because going back to Horus's perspective, Horus's monologue being like, it's not the Emperor's power, it's how he uses it.
Yeah,
then
he
it's
says that a lot.
And then, oh, it's not the Emperor's power, it's what he does with it. It's not his power, it's how he steals it. Oh
Right.
my god, I was absolutely loving Dan Abnett writing this book. He is, I think, really nailed Horus's monologue and like the fight with the Emperor and all that stuff. I just need to like note that was superb.
Just fanboy a little bit. I get
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
It's really good. Yeah, totally. Totally good. Yeah, he just like discovering all these things about his father that he never knew before. Like he thought initially, right? He just believes it's just pure power, and he just enacts power upon everything, and that's how he's doing what he's doing. But then he's like, "Oh, my dad is a sneaky son of a bitch. Like
He's done this to hurt me.
yeah, he's clever. He uses his power in ways that makes it more effective than it would be if it was just brute force, right? Yeah, that's great.
Oh, so good. Anyway,
It's
back to
super good.
Alanius. Alanius finds the Emperor as a broken husk of a man.
Mostly dead. Yep.
Mostly dead. Begs him to like stand up one more time and to take the knife. Pushes Alanius through. Not Alanius. John Grammaticus. He's like, "You gotta go and finish the string. Get out of here.
Right.
Run." Oh man. So we know that the magic knife works because when it's wielded by Perpetual, it can do stuff because it's an old knife and he's an old soul, and that's part of like giving it to the Emperor. He's also very old, so it has more power.
Yes. True.
Grammaticus uses Annuncia to like stun Horus for a bit. Why not just stand up and stab him?
Right. He maybe was afraid.
Maybe, maybe that's fair. Yeah, Horus was like a complete monster at that point. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, they do take a bit of time being like, Olanius and John are petrified of what
sure.
Horus has become, like, physically cannot handle it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Grammaticus using Enuncia is almost like a, like, flight or fight response more than anything
Right.
else.
Well, I mean, yeah. Also, when the Emperor does use the knife, he also has to pour his magic through it. So, yeah.
Yes, that's true. That is true.
That is true. Yeah. So Grammaticus is stuck spending the next like hundreds, thousands of years traveling across time and space, which used to be merged to like tie bits of string to things.
Right.
Uh, that sucks.
And again, he's on his last life too.
Yeah.
So, in all of his journeys through time and space,
Is he on his last elf life? Is that what we're supposed to, or is he like...
it must be if he's spending thousands of years.
Right, but we have rejuvenant treatments and stuff. Is he just like...
Maybe.
Maybe? I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. I just interpreted it as
He's on his last elf life.
elf life, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine.
But again, he didn't. Whatever. It was borrowed perpetuality, right?
Right.
Yeah. Who knows? Anywho, so then the Emperor trickses Horus into letting go of all of his power and stabs him.
Uh-huh.
And honestly, Horus's love for Gavriel Loken saves everything.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Horus's feelings for Loken,
Yeah.
like, the one thing that was able to, like, make this a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, is human.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's not a monster. He's not entirely puppeted by chaos. He has these feelings about Gabriel Loken. Even Loken being there is, like, painful.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to... He uses magic bullshit to try and, like, tie Loken up in, like, a little pocket dimension. And he's like, this is just a room. It's a scary room, but I've seen a scary room before. And he manages to get out of it. And it's because Horus is like, I didn't want my favorite son to see me like this or anything like
Right.
that.
Right. Like, I know that he disapproves of everything I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I could just reject him and exile him and say he's betrayed me, but he doesn't do that. He's like, I love him, I know him. The fact that he doesn't accept me hurts. Like, that's an entirely different thing.
Mm.
Yeah. Anyway, good job, Loken. Way to be awesome. Way to save the galaxy.
Yep. And
Sort of.
kind of doom it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So, do we want to talk about that?
Yeah.
That he offers amnesty to what's his name, Abaddon.
Yeah.
And he's like, look,
Yeah.
I will plead your case for you. You guys need to just like make the effort to stand down, and you know, not all of you are beyond redemption. And
Abaddon's like, Gilliman will kill us. And I'm like, he
probably
probably will. Good call.
I think Loken is maybe making a bad case, but he's like trying to be optimistic.
Yeah.
And then he gets a knife stabbed into his back by Erebus. Look, Dan Abnett didn't need to make us hate Erebus anymore, but killing a fan favorite character in the last like 30 minutes of the book is insane.
And then being like, the betrayal and the cowardice and everything is the point. I thought was a really interesting way to make that happen too.
Yeah. And so Erebus basically lets slip that like, we've just created a demon, and demons are perpetuals and they never really die or are born. But this is the start of a demon who needs to be there at the beginning, because he is the one who walks beside you. And if you don't know what that's a reference to, I mean, you should. I think you picked up on it.
Yeah.
I want to read you a tiny little extract from Dan Abnett's first book in the Horus Heresy, Horus Rising. Samus, the only name you'll ever hear. Samus. It means the end and the death. Which, did they
Nice.
have the name picked out for like how this will end
They
18
must
years
have.
ago?
Or they just used it for the name of
right.
the book when they were coming up with it later. But
That-
I like them having it planned out in advance. Yeah, totally.
I like them having ideas. I don't know that it necessarily
yeah.
took. Originally, I think some of the authors were like said this in interviews that the Horus Heresy was going to be about 10 books, so they couldn't have had it all planned, you know.
Right. The beginning and the end, sure.
Sure.
Just how much you had to flesh out
Well,
grew
right.
over the time.
How many side quests you need?
So many side quests.
Yeah.
So
So
they obviously they couldn't have planned to give, to explore each of the Primarchs then in 10 books. There's no way.
yeah, no, apparently not.
They must have come up with a plan to do exploration of Primarchs and who they are and where they came from
Or
later.
it's either that or they'd planned to group more and more of them together.
Ooh. So like
Really,
yeah,
yeah,
that'd be tough.
that would be tough.
And I think they came to the conclusion, if they had that plan at all, to be like, not enough space. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So yeah, that's Samus is born from Loken's death, and Samus is the demon in the Whisperheads who possesses Jubal Khan and pushes a lot of these events into motion. And it's a little wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, and I don't know that you like it, but they're sticking to their rules at least, and so maybe you don't hate it. This is one of the things that that I said that you would be a little grumpy about.
Yeah,
But-
no, again, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Like, they want to do these loops. They want to make demons this way. They're consistent with how they're doing the demons.
Mm-hmm.
They explain some of the rules about it. Fine. I'm down.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, it totally makes sense, too. I mean, for it to have to be, like, a betrayal. This murder needs to be a cowardly stab in the back that's a betrayal of someone who's good and, like, offering a hand of, like, fellowship to his enemies.
To
and
give it
he
power.
needs to be
resonance.
betrayed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how this needs to work. And this was perfect. It's like, thumbs up. That's some good writing right there.
Good on you, Dan.
Because Loken's like just being the most magnanimous human in all of 30K at this point.
Right.
Yeah. Anywho, good stuff.
Good stuff. I mean, we've barely dented this book.
Seriously. We do more about it next week?
We can, if you want. We definitely can. Do we want to read another book? Do we want to decide what we're reading?
Yeah.
I mean, I assume you're like looking at the time and being like, I've got kids to put down.
Totally.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that offline then? Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, we'll
That's
do
fine.
that. And we'll be
It'll
back
be
with another book next week then.
It'll be a
Okay.
surprise for people. So.
Yeah. Excellent.
All right.
Okay. Well, we covered a lot of this stuff in the last book.
We covered the end and the death.
Yeah, exactly.
One of them.
That-
Two
yeah,
of them, actually.
More stuff to talk about. We'll get more about it next week in the other book as well. So.
Cool.
All right, good. Well, thanks for hanging out with us. This has been Falcon Paladin and Somicron with another edition of the Falcon Paladin Hour, a very Warhammer episode, but, they've been this way for a while now, so you're probably used to it. If you want to support the podcast, you can go to twitch.tv/Somicron and follow and subscribe there. You can also go to patreon.com/Somicron and pledge. You can also buy merch at falconpaladin.store and also at youtube.com/@Somicron. Subscribe there as well. Join the channel if you can, and we'll be back next week. So until then, take care of yourself, and goodbye.
Bye.